Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Conference Chatter TV. My name is Eric Sorrentino. I'm the KUSports.com Big 12 blogger, and we're recording today from Clinton Lake in Lawrence, Kansas. Such a beautiful day, and since it's November, I felt that I had to take advantage of this nice day, so we are out here in West Lawrence picking the games in the Big 12 for Week 11 of the college football season. So let's get right to it here. In Week 11, the first game kicking it off for us will be Nebraska at Kansas, 2:30 p.m. in Lawrence. And last week, I tried sticking with my preseason prediction. That, of course, was KU winning the North. So I picked the Jayhawks to beat K-State. That didn't happen. I've tried to stick it out with KU this year, but they're really just struggling. And for me, I think it stops with this game. I have to go with Nebraska in this game. The Huskers played really well on defense, and beat a pretty good OU team last week in Lincoln. And I just don't think this is really a good matchup for a struggling KU offense. Nebraska, second in the country in scoring defense with only 10.3 points allowed per game. And I'm wondering who's going to block Ndamukong Suh for Nebraska. That guy's just a force, a Heisman Trophy candidate. Hopefully for KU's sake, it's two people. But if they double team him, that frees up guys like Barry Turner, Pierre Allen. Jared Crick is a guy who has 8 sacks on the season to lead Nebraska. So it's not just Suh wreaking havoc there in the front four for Nebraska. It's the other 3 guys, too. They are incredible. And Nebraska's come a long way on defense, obviously from the Bill Callahan era. But even in Bo Pelini's second year, they've just made massive strides on defense. This was a Huskers team that last year gave up 28 points per game under Bo Pelini, and they were thought as having a decently good defense last year. Pelini, obviously, with his pedigree and his attention to detail on defense coming from LSU, you expected that. But they were 80th in the country last year in scoring defense. In just his second year, they are playing defense at an elite level. If they had half an offense, this is a team that would be playing in a BCS game, but that's not the case. Obviously, the offense for Nebraska, a different story, and that's why this one could be a little bit close in Lawrence. Nebraska, only 14.8 points scored per game in conference play. They've really not gotten the job done on offense. Will it be Cody Green? Will it be Zach Lee? Green started last week against Oklahoma, and then Pelini pulled him for Zach Lee because he felt it was kind of a bigger game atmosphere, and he felt Lee was more fit to handle that sort of situation. And so we'll see what happens with the Nebraska offense. I think that's really what's stopping Nebraska from being an elite top 5 team, back to the powerhouse days in Lincoln, is this offense. I mean, that's probably what's going to prohibit them from playing in a BCS game this year. This defense can win someone a national championship. I don't think there's any question about that. So I think Kansas will be up for this game. It's senior day in Lawrence, the last game at Memorial Stadium this season, but I'm going to take Nebraska. KU is just sputtering. They've lost 4 straight. The Jayhawks committing too many turnovers of late for my liking. In those 4 losses, Kansas has 12 turnovers in those last 4 losses. And against this Nebraska defense, that's not a good sign. So I look for Nebraska to narrowly edge Kansas in Lawrence. Next game, we have Missouri at Kansas State, 11:30 a.m. in Manhattan. Oh, man, I've been going back and forth with this one. It could go either way. Missouri, they looked awful last week against Baylor. K-State, of course, last week, they're kind of on a roll after that Kansas win. They've won 3 of 4. That said, I'm taking Missouri in this game, just barely. And why? Because it's the Big 12 North. It's unpredictable. It's mediocre. That's actually putting it nicely. And it just seems right that Missouri will win this game based on the crazy stuff that's happened in the Big 12 North this season. And adding to that, I was looking at it, Missouri on offense has not scored a touchdown in the second half since the Nevada game on September 25th. I'm still taking them just because this, like I said, this is a bizarre division. And it's kind of how the North has gone this year. You can get Nebraska beating Oklahoma. You can get Missouri losing to Baylor. You could get K-State losing to Texas Tech by 52, or you could get K-State beating A&M by 48. Flip a coin. Who knows how this one's going to turn out? I just have this feeling that Missouri's going to prevail. and kind of turn it around after that really embarrassing loss in Columbia at home to Baylor. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm taking Missouri in a close one there in Manhattan. Next game, we'll switch gears to the Big 12 South. Texas at Baylor, 11 a.m. Texas dropping to number 3 again in the BCS. They're still number 2 in the AP, but that's just frustrating to watch. I've been saying all year that Texas has done nothing to drop to number 3. I don't know what the BCS is thinking in dropping the Horns to 3. They should still be number 2. And you know the old saying, when the coaches tell the players, oh, don't pay attention to that and blah, blah, blah. If I'm Mac Brown, I make it very clear that UT dropped to number 3 in the BCS standings. If I'm Texas, play with that chip on your shoulder. Prove to people that you belong in the BCS title game. I think they'll still make it there. I've been saying for weeks that Texas is going to play for the BCS title. I'm not changing my opinion on that. But I think, if I'm Texas, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, they've been going back and forth from number 2 to number 3. No, they should be number 2 all year. They shouldn't have dropped to number 3. And if I'm Texas, I'm looking at that and I'm using that as motivation for the rest of the season and, throughout to close the season and play for the BCS championship. That's just a great motivational tool that the Horns can use. For their sake, I hope they use it. So that's that. That's 3. So these first 3 games, I'm taking everybody on the road. Texas kind of an obvious pick. But I think I'm going to take some home teams here in the last 3, starting with Colorado at Iowa State, 1 p.m. I'm going to take the Cyclones. Of course, the Buffaloes coming off a very impressive victory over Texas A&M, just not consistent enough for my liking. I'm taking Iowa State at home in that. Next, we have Texas A&M at Oklahoma, 6 p.m. I never pick against Oklahoma at home unless it's an extreme circumstance. This is not an extreme circumstance. The Sooners struggled on offense, 5 interceptions from Landry Jones last week against Nebraska. I think at home they have an insane winning streak, and I'm picking the Sooners at home in this one to prevail. Next is Texas Tech at Oklahoma State, our final game of the week, 7 p.m. I'm going to go with the home team here in the Cowboys. We'll see how this one goes. Keith Toston last week. Keep feeding that guy the rock. 200 yards rushing. And Oklahoma State, of course, they've had Kendall Hunter hurt for the most of the season, but really they haven't, the running game really hasn't been a concern with Oklahoma State. You have Keith Toston stepping up, and I think that he's in for a big day against Texas Tech. If I'm the Cowboys, I keep feeding him the rock in that one. I'm going to go with the home team there in Oklahoma State. So we got 3 home teams, 3 road teams that I'm picking earlier. We'll see how that goes. It should be an interesting week in Week 11. It sure was last week, so we'll see how it plays out. But, guys, I appreciate you checking out the latest episode. My name is Eric Sorrentino. I am signing off. I'll talk to you guys again later this weekend. Thanks.